No one in Green Hollow expected dragons to fall from the sky, because Green Hollow had never been a place where legends arrived. It was quiet land, wide and forgiving, shaped by low hills and long seasons, soil so soft it stained the hands of those who worked it. Humans farmed there, nothing more, and Elias Mercer had farmed the same fields for 40 years. He woke before dawn, planted by hand, and spoke to the soil as if it listened. Some said it did. That morning, however, the wind moved wrong. Birds fled first, lifting from hedges in frantic waves. Cattle shifted in load, hooves stamping uneasily. The air grew heavy, thick enough to taste, and then the sky cracked. It was not thunder or lightning, but something screaming, something tearing. Elias looked up just as dark shapes ripped through the clouds, vast and burning, bleeding fire and smoke as they fell. They struck beyond the wheat line with a force that shook the earth, hurling soil skyward. Elias dropped his tools and ran, not from courage but instinct, because something was hurt and that had always been enough. At the crash site he froze. Dragons lay there, real and unreal at once. Scale bodies like living armor, wings torn and twisted, blood steaming where it touched the soil. One was enormous, bronze scales dulled by ash, a deep gash torn across its chest. The other was smaller, silver blue, its wing bent wrong, breathing shallow and uneven. Both were alive, barely. Elias stood trembling. He thought of his cattle, his home, the old stories whispered by firelight. Then the smaller dragon opened one eye and looked at him. There was no fire, no rage, only fear, raw and unmistakable. That settled everything. Elias shrugged off his coat, wrapped it around the smaller dragon's neck, and pressed hard to slow the bleeding. The creature flinched, then stilled. Good. He moved to the larger dragon. This wound was worse. Metal fragments were embedded in the flesh, jagged and unnatural. Weapons. This was no accident. Someone had hunted them. Elias worked without thinking, cleaning wounds with water from his canteen, packing soil mixed with crushed herbs into the cuts. Old farm remedies, guided by memory and faith. The soil here was special. It always had been. After long minutes, the bleeding slowed. The dragons breathed, still helpless. Elias wiped his brow and stared at the clearing sky, knowing ships would come, because dragons meant attention, and attention meant soldiers. He felt the weight of that certainty settle into his bones, heavy as responsibility, heavier than fear. Green Hollow had always been ignored, overlooked by maps and powers alike, and he understood that would end today. Yet as he stood between the wounded giants in his quiet fields, Elias knew the land had already chosen him, and he would answer, whatever the cost. He breathed once, steady, and stepped forward into a future that no story prepared him for. Elias did not waste time arguing with fate. He fetched his tractor, blankets, tarps, and heavy harness lines from the barn, working with a calm precision earned through decades of labor. Slowly, carefully, he rigged a sled from old farm equipment, each knot tied with practiced hands. The dragons watched him the entire time. When he approached the larger one, it growled weakly, heat flickering behind dim eyes. Elias raised his hands and spoke softly, the same way he did to frightened animals. Easy now. I'm not hurting you. The words were calm, unforced, and somehow the dragon felt it. It allowed him close. Inch by inch, with groaning metal and straining ropes, Elias hauled both dragons toward the old stone barn at the edge of his land. The ground protested. The harness creaked. Elias did not stop. By sunset they were inside. He sealed the doors, doused the lights, and sat between them with a lantern. He waited. That night the smaller dragon spoke, not with words but with feeling, pain, fear. Confusion flowed like a cold current through Elias's bones. Without knowing how, he answered, "You are safe here." The thought carried. The dragon relaxed. Days passed. Elias fed the meat from his stores and water from the spring. He cleaned wounds daily. The soil helped. It always did. The dragons healed faster than expected. On the fourth day, ships arrived. Military vessels circled overhead, scanning the land below. Elias stood in his field and waved. Just a farmer, nothing to see. The soil hid the barn as it always had. The scans found nothing. The ships left. Relief flooded the barn. The larger dragon finally spoke, voice heavy and resonant. Human, why? Elias smiled, tired but sincere. Because you were hurt. The dragon studied him. In your stories, we are enemies. Elias shrugged. Stories don't plant fields. Silence followed. Then the smaller dragon spoke. You carried us. Elias nodded. Yes. Why? Elias answered simply. Because no one else did. The bond formed then. Not magic. Not fate. Choice. Weeks passed. The dragons healed. The larger named himself Kuros. The smaller was Lyra. At night, Kuros warmed the soil. Lyra chased pests from the fields. The harvest doubled. The land thrived. One evening, Kuros told Elias the truth. They had been diplomats, shot down by those who feared peace. If discovered, they would be killed. Elias leaned on the fence and considered. Then you stay until it's safe. The dragons bowed their heads. And Green Hollow endured. Months passed, and rumor spread beyond Green Hollow. A farm untouched by drought. Fields that never burned. Harvests that defied expectation. Officials came with questions and scanners. Elias offered tea and plain answers. They left confused. The soil revealed nothing. It never had. At night, shadows crossed the fields, bronze and silver blue, silent and protective. Elias never spoke of it. He did not need to. The land understood. Eventually, banners appeared on the horizon. Not war colors, but peace. Dragon envoys returned under open skies. Kuros and Lyra stood tall again, scales bright, wings strong. They bowed to Elias and offered gold, land, protection beyond measure. Elias shook his head gently. I have enough. Lyra stepped closer. Then come with us. See the skies. Elias smiled, sadness soft but firm. This land needs me. Kuros lowered his massive head. Then this land will be protected forever. They rose into the sky, wings thunderous and bright. Green Hollow became sacred ground. No army crossed it. No war touched it. Every year 2 shadows passed overhead, circling once. Elias would look up and smile. Because sometimes HFY is not about strength. Sometimes it is about a farmer who carried the wounded and changed the fate of dragons.